Okay, so good day everyone. So I will discuss the lesson 2 in our chapter 2, Biodiversity and the Healthy Society. So what are the learning outcomes at the end of this lesson? The students should be able to determine the interrelatedness of society, environment, and health, create a diagram that would show the relatedness of species in forming up a diverse and healthy society without compromising one another, and identify every task and evaluate whether they contribute to the wellness and health of biodiversity and society or not. So decrease in biodiversity is eminent worldwide. So when we say eminent, it is well known. So napaka well known niya worldwide, hindi lamang sa Philippines. So vertebrates fell to 60% from the 1970s due to human causes or human activities. It is projected by 2020, and wildlife decline will be 67% of the present number. So the Worldwide Fund for Nature and Zoological Society ng London, they report annual decrease in wildlife by 2%. And ang major cause is human population. Dumoble ang human population since 1960, and humans industrialize the natural habitat of wildlife as well as the marine life, leaving the creatures with no place to live would eventually cause their deaths. Sabi ni Marco Lambertini, siya ang General Director ng World Wide Fund International. So he described na ang pagkawala or ang mabilis na pagkawala ng species is an unprecedented rate. No, napakabilis ng pacing ng disappearance. And the Earth might enter the sixth mass extinction event according to experts. So like I said before, ang mass extinction is described as the disappearance of species at a rate of 1,000 faster than usual. So moreover, ang mabilisang pagka-extinct ng species sa isang lugar ay nagkukos ng imbalance sa ating ecosystem na nagpo-produce ng more chaotic changes na nakaka-harm sa ating entire ecosystem. So kagaya na lang ng pollution, no, climate change, and so on. So this is but a pressing statement for the people to know more about the importance of our diverse environment and how human activities can either contribute to its growth or destruction. So this are or there is a growing importance of studying how society, how the environment, and health is interrelated to each other. Na kapag ang tao, they fail to organize the needs of those remaining components, no, or the humans fail to organize the needs of one of those components, then the other remaining components can be affected and compromised. And it is timely to know about the pressing effects of species being extinct and that our ecosystem is being imbalanced. So first, let us know what is biodiversity. So biodiversity is defined as the vast variety of life and forms in the entire Earth. So it encompasses lahat ng klase ng life forms from single-celled organisms up to the largest multi-celled organisms. So its definition is in the structural and functional perspective and not as individual species. So another definition is it is a variability among living organisms from all sources, including terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems, and ecological complexes kung saan sila ay parte. So this includes the diversity, no, within species, between species in of ecosystems. So to sum up, biodiversity is a source of the essential goods and ecological services that constitutes the source of life for all. So it has direct compulsive value in food, in agriculture and medicine, and in industry. So, understanding biodiversity within the concept of ecosystem needs a thorough study in the relationship of the biotic or the non or the living organisms and the abiotic or the non-living organisms. So, interdisciplinary approach is needed to study ecosystem. So biodiversity plays a major role in these natural dynamics. For example, kapag maraming golden snails in a certain area ng isang rice fields, so nakakatulong yan na ma-predict na there is a low or magiging low ang production ng harvest. Since ang eggs ng golden snails ay considered na peste sa palay, right? So we see those species as a pest. So on the positive view naman, the larger the number of different species in a certain area can also be a predictor of sustainable life in that area. And sustainability ng ecosystem will ensure a better survival rate against any natural disasters. So therefore, tayo as human inhabitants ng ecosystem, we must preserve and conserve the biodiversity in lahat ng creatures. So changes in biodiversity. So alteration in any system bring varied effects. And ang pagbabago sa biodiversity natin could have erratic effects not only in wildlife or marine life but also in human beings. So for example, as you can see in the picture, humans inhabiting the forest would disturb the natural order of life. And direktong naapektuhan dyan is ang ating trees and plants and other species like animals, insects, and lahat ng life forms living there due to land clearing operations kung saan itatayo ang mga bahay or industrial facilities if ever. And those species would either be displaced or most likely be killed, yung mga nakatira dyan. So, yung pagkawala ng mga species dyan would greatly affect the entire ecosystem governing that environment, and the food chain might damage. So from that, we can clearly infer na kapag ang ecosystem natin is not well taken care of, biodiversity encounters changes that may impact humans' health on such different levels. So threats to biodiversity. So we have five threats to biodiversity. So number one is habitat loss and destruction. So major contributing factor is the inhabitation of human beings and the use of land for economic gains. Number two is alterations in ecosystem composition. So alteration and sudden changes either within species, groups, or within the environment could begin to change entire ecosystems. So alteration in ecosystems are a critical factor contributing to species and habitat loss. Number three is exploitation rather. So overhunting, overfishing, or overcollecting of species can quickly lead to its decline. Changing consumption patterns of humans is often cited as the key reason for this unsustainable exploitation of natural resources. So sa pagdami ng population natin, nag-overhunting, nag-overfishing tayo. And minsan, excuse me, minsan, nai-invade natin yung biodiversity ng other species like kaya nagkakaroon ng mga attack ng crocodiles kasi yung kanilang um, tinitirhan is naging populated na. No? Nagkaroon na ng mga tao. Nagkaroon ng bahay ng mga tao. Which is, nawalan sila ng or naging threat sa kanila yon. So, number four is population and contamination. So, biological systems respond slowly to changes in their surrounding environment. And population and contamination cause irreversible damage to species and varieties. Number five is the climate change. Now, both variability and climate change cause biodiversity loss. So the species and populations may be lost permanently kung hindi napoprovide with enough time to adapt yung changing climate conditions. So there is a consequences of biodiversity loss. Even with the improvement ng technology and science natin at present, we still had a lot to learn about biodiversity. So more so about the consequences ng biodiversity loss. However, yung basic concept about biodiversity loss was from Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. So the loss of biodiversity has many consequences that we understand and many that we do not. So it is apparent that humankind is willing to sustain a great deal of biodiversity loss if there are concomitant benefits to society. So we hope that they are net benefits. So in many cases, the benefits seem to accrue to a few individuals only, so with net societal loss. However, it is extremely difficult to estimate the future cost of losses in biodiversity or of environmental damage. Excuse me. As stated by Tillman, the Earth will retain its most striking feature or in its biodiversity only kung ang humans have the prescience to do so. So this will occur it seems only if we realize the extent to which we use biodiversity. So nutritional impact of biodiversity according to the World Health Organization, biodiversity is a vital element sa ating human beings' nutrition because of the influence to food production. So, saan ba galing ang food natin? Sa ating biodiversity din. And biodiversity is a major factor that contributes to sustainable food production for human beings. As a society or a population must have access to sufficient variety of nutritious food as it is determinant of their health as human beings. So, nutritional composition between foods and among varieties cultivars breeds of the same food can differ dramatically affecting micronutrient availability in the diet. So nutrition and biodiversity are linked at many levels. Now, the ecosystems with the food production as an ecosystem service, the species in the ecosystem, and the genetic diversity within species. So healthy local diets with adequate average levels of nutrients intake are necessities and maintenance of a high biodiversity levels. So intensified and enhanced food production through irrigation or the use of fertilizer, plant protection, or pesticides, or the introduction of crop varieties and cropping patterns will affect biodiversity and impact global nutritional status and human health. So habitat simplifications, species loss, and species succession often enhance community vulnerabilities as a function of environmental receptivity to ill health. So, yung paggamit natin ng mga pesticides will have um, negative benefits sa katawan natin. Likewise sa other species. Kasi yung iba is uh, namamatay because of using pesticides. So, yan. Yan na pala yan. Health biology and biodiversity. So, almost all living organisms are dependent to their environment to live and reproduce. So, basic needs of living organisms such as air, water, food, and habitat are provided by our environment. So, the evolution of human beings was due to the improved access to these basic needs. So, advances in agriculture, advances in sanitation, water treatment, and hygiene have had a far greater impact of human health than medical technology. So, although the environment sustains human life, it can also cause diseases, no, like unsafe drinking water. So, lack of basic necessities is a significant cause of human mortality. And um, environmental hazards also. It will also increase the risk of cancer, heart disease, asthma, and many other illnesses. So these hazards can be physical, such as pollution, toxic chemicals, and food contaminants, or they can be social, such as dangerous work, poor housing conditions, urban sprawl, poverty, and poverty. So, unsafe drinking water and poor sanitation are responsible for infectious diseases. No? Cytomyasis, diarrhea, cholera, meningitis, and gastritis. So, diyan nag-start yun sa unsafe drinking water yung mga viruses na yan or infectious disease na yan. So in 2015, approximately there are 350,000 children under the age of 5, which is mostly in developing world, died from diarrheal diseases related to unsafe drinking water. And approximately, 1.8 billion people use drinking water contaminated with feces, and more than 2 billion people lack access to basic sanitation. So the interrelation between the human health and biological diversity is considered or considerable and complex. So with the current biodiversity loss at unprecedented rates, the delicate balance between human health and biological diversity is at risk. So what are other environmental related illnesses? Before I end this topic. Now, marami sa mga tao are found to be related with some diseases like Parkinson's disease, heart disease, cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, asthma, diabetes, obesity, occupational injuries, and so on. By contrast, the activities that promote health and extend human life could have adverse environmental effects. For example, ang food production natin can cause environmental damage from using pesticides and fertilizers. Soil salination, waste produced by livestock, or carbon emissions from food manufacturing and transportation, deforestation, and overfishing. So healthcare facilities also have adverse environmental impacts also. Now, yung mga malalaking hospitals, they are using large quantities of electricity and fossil fuels and nakakapag-produce or marami ang napoproduce na hospital waste or medical waste. No, so to prevent some diseases, it may be necessary to alter the environment. For example, the malaria was eradicated in the United States and other developed nations in the 1940s and 50s. So, as a result of draining wetlands and spraying DDT to kill mosquitoes, a reduction in mortality from starvation or disease can lead to overpopulation, which stresses the environment in many different ways. So, increasing ng paggamit ng fossil fuels, no, clearing ng land or generating pollution and waste and so on. So, interestingly, according to experts, the climate change could also have a serious impact on human health, and it could deteriorate farming systems and reduce nutrients in some foods. So, in case the biodiversity increase resilience, or thus helping adjust to new environmental conditions, safeguarding of coral reefs, for instance, is essential to reduce the risk of floods. Nakakatulong kasi yun sa um, na or ma-reduce yung risk ng floods natin and other uh, or like tsunamis, ganyan. So, as the ordinary ecosystems can reduce wave energy by 97%, thus protecting over 100 billion people all over the world. So, relationship between the human health and the environment raised many ethical, social, and legal dilemmas by forcing people to choose among competing values. Karamihan sa mga issues at the intersection ng health and the environment have to do with managing benefits of risk. For example, the pesticides play an important role in increasing crop yields. No? Using pesticides can increase your crop yields, but they can also pose hazards to human health and the environment. So instead of using pesticides, no alternatives to that is you can use to create trade-offs in health. In the extreme action of stopping all pesticides or paggamit ng pesticides could significantly reduce no agricultural productivity. So, bababa naman yung ating agricultural productivity, leading to food shortage naman in some part of the world. So, public health authorities have opted to regulate the use of pesticides to enhance food production while minimizing damage to the environment and human health. In energy production and use help sustain human life, but it can also pose hazards to human health and the environment, such as the air and water pollution, oil spills, and destruction of habitats. So, no issues or demands greater care in balancing benefits and risks than global warming. So, a significant percentage of global climate change is due to the human production of greenhouse gases. And climate change is likely to cause tremendous harm to the environment and human health. But taking steps to drastically reduce greenhouse gases um, could have adverse consequences for global, national, and local economies. For example, greatly increasing taxes sa ating fossil fuels would encourage greater fuel efficiency and lower carbon dioxide emissions. But